Tonight on NTV's Grow, short water supply. Some areas really struggling out there. See what's happening in parts of the state. Check out new sensors to help monitor the amount of nitrogen in the soil. And a busy time for crop dusters. Take a look from their perspective. And one company turning a challenging market cycle into opportunity with innovation. Also, the countdown for the state fair is underway. You're watching NTV's Grow. Some areas in the state, downpours. Others, not so lucky. It's bone dry. UNL Extension says while we may not be in a drought, water is in short supply. NTV's Lauren Scharf visits a farm where they haven't had much rain in a month.
It just burned up because there was no moisture left.
Dennis Dorn's crops are looking bleak.
If we'd had rain, it could have been up here like this already. But right now, of course, I planted this after I cut the weed.
With the soil like powder, Dennis says the rainfall just misses his land in Franklin County.
It goes either north or south of us.
Throughout time, we've had areas we just didn't get the rainfall, and we got to remember that one time back in early 1800s, it was called the Great American Desert. There might have been a reason for that.
UNL Extension educator Dewey Linneman believes the moisture comes in cycles and farmers should prepare for such droughts.
Of course, no-till has been a godsend in this part of the country. You can do some things with plant population, get particular varieties or hybrids that are more resistant to drought.
But with how much wind and with the combination of the heat index lately, Dennis says damage is throughout all types of his crops.
This could recover if we had rain. We're going to be lucky if we break even.
Soybeans have been known as being fairly drought resistant. And then probably the champion is probably grain sorghum.
With a limit on water in Franklin, the withered grain can be seen from both dry and irrigated land.
Because I got moisture sensors out under the pivots. Every week I check them. They're drier than they were the week before.
In the fall and winter, there was little to no moisture here. So what's critical now is timely rain.
We were living off of borrowed moisture, I think, for quite a bit. Now it's catching up with us.
Now, besides water, farmers also want to manage nitrogen levels in the soil. And there's new sensors coming out from a joint deal. NTV's Steve White takes a look at how they measure those nitrogen levels.
The yield monitor will tell us a lot more. I was one that was very against having to turn in all the reports and monitor.
When fertilizer regulations came down 30 years ago, Ken Syme didn't want any part of it. Now he's a believer that nitrogen fertilizer must be carefully managed.
The more efficient we are with what's out there, the better everybody is for the soil, the water, and the farmer's profit.
Nitrate levels were rising, posing a threat to the water. Researcher Richard Ferguson calls Merritt County the poster child for turning things around.
We've actually shown a gain in water quality over that period of time compared to other areas of the state that continue to decline.
This is your average values.
The Syme farm is part of a real-world science experiment.
These sensors actually read the wavelength, the color coming off the plant, and determine on the fly how much nitrogen to use.
They read what we don't even see with the naked eye, and that's the amazing part.
Changing the rate every second as it goes through the field based on what the canopies see in terms of the crop quality at that point.
With corn prices low, farmers want to wait to see more results before buying sensors of their own.
I think it's going to be very interesting to see the end results.
But if the price is right, it could benefit farmers and their neighbors.
We found in our research when we optimize profit, why we're also minimizing our environmental impact. Those two things go together very well.
Governor Pete Ricketts joins Iowa's governor in announcing a new American ethanol pump labeling initiative. The initiative is to promote the American ethanol brand. The American ethanol brand will provide nationwide consistency in pump labels for all ethanol blends including E10, E15, E30, and E85. Nebraska and Iowa are two of the nation's top ethanol producing states. Nebraska produces more than 2 billion gallons of ethanol each year. Dipping and diving, they fly just overhead. This is a busy time of year for crop dusters. Well, just how dangerous of a job is this really? NTV's Tanner Kaler goes up in the air and takes a look.
There are just so many obstacles that you or I probably wouldn't even think about, but when you're flying a plane with hundreds of gallons of chemicals, you have to, because disaster can strike at any moment. From takeoff to the air. Pilots flying ag applicator planes say they have to be attentive and cautious at all times.
You have to have a desire to and love to fly first, you know, and all the things that go with flying an ag aircraft.
Brent Stewart has been doing this job for over 30 years, now working for an extension of the Aurora Co-op in Minden. During this time of year, he says, pilots spend up to 15 hours a day above the fields.
I'm constantly watching these guys because we're putting in a lot of hours, and if they need a break, I'll get in and go.
It's just one of a number of safety precautions these pilots take. Depending on the job, they say they average spraying 160 acres in roughly 20 minutes. Time that has to be spent constantly monitoring everything from the weather to objects in the field.
We still circle the field to make sure there aren't irrigators or someone jogging down the road or what have you. You know, those are some pretty important things.
And even new technology. Stewart says within the past few years, drones have become another danger to watch for.
I've had 2 operators already tell me they've had occurrences with drones, and it's not going to be a good outcome.
All of this done with speed and proficiency. Stewart says it's not a job for everyone.
This industry is all about efficiency. You know, we have a very short time frame, small window to get the applications done.
You heard me mention in that story that Brent's been doing this for over 30 years. He says when he first started, his planes didn't have any air conditioning and that he'd end the season 20 pounds lighter. He and his pilots are thankful for the comforts like AC that make this job a little bit easier.
1/3 of Nebraska counties are now livestock friendly. Thayer and Fillmore counties are the latest to join the list. Counties use the designation to promote livestock industry and attract new businesses. In total, there are 32 counties participating in the program. It is time to celebrate all that is Nebraska at the Nebraska State Fair. And the countdown is on. So imagine trying to throw a party for 300,000 people and none of the trash ends up in the landfill. NTV's Grow's Steve White takes a closer look.
The fair's goal is to be a zero-waste event with a focus on recycling. Guests will see recycling containers all over the grounds, but it's more than plastic bottles and aluminum cans. The livestock barns produce a lot of waste too, specifically all the livestock bedding, especially in the cattle barn, and that too gets recycled.
We were able to compost about 1,200 tons of livestock bedding from the 2014 fair.
They want to keep the barns clean and looking new. To that end, they've been doing a deep clean of the livestock facilities after hosting 4 national shows this summer that attracted thousands of cattle and goats. The next emphasis will be food composting and also encouraging vendors to use utensils that are eco-friendly.
A handshake just isn't enough anymore. There's so much that goes into renting and leasing land that can be overlooked. You want to be protected. We have some advice coming up after the break and later on your Grow Forecast. Stick around.